Automation and jobs. Should you be worried? Well, it was highlighted by ONS in 2017 that 20 million jobs were analysed in the UK, and from those 20 million jobs, 1.5 million jobs were at high risk of their job being replaced by a machine. So, what does that mean? Well, it means around 7 out of 100 people were at high risk of their jobs being replaced. This begs the question: should you be concerned about a robot taking over your job? Well, to some extent, yes, but it has also led to more jobs being created. So be aware and adapt. Now, as mentioned by David Autor, if you think about it, many of the last 200 years of inventions were created to replace human labor. What are some examples? For instance, we have the tractor for farming, we have the mechanical assembly line in factories, and lastly we have the personal computer, which has a wide range of tasks it can complete, for instance, replacing human calculations or gathering and analyzing data. So this begs the question, why do we continue to see so many jobs in this day and age as well as different types of jobs? Something for you to ponder about as we continue this talk. So, the blueprint of this talk will be represented by a ladder of steps. We begin at the bottom by understanding the basics. We then move on to see whether or not it will impact your job, as well as which jobs are most likely to be automated. Then we take a trip down to memory lane and see what we can gather from the past. After, we take a leap into the future and see what it may have in store for us. Lastly, we decide whether or not if there's a silver lining. So to begin, understanding the basics. What is automation? Simply put, automation is the replacement of workers with machines to carry out the same exact tasks. Now you may ask, how does automation impact jobs? Well, the primary answer which the majority of people may suggest is that it replaces workers, which is in fact true. However, there is another underlying answer, which is that automation assists workers and helps them with their work. So you may be wondering, will it impact my job? Well, changes in technology will affect everyone differently. It could affect your work by the following: increase in productivity. Better technology could lead to the introduction of machines which could help improve your work and allow you to do more and produce more. If there's an increase in the amount of work you do, then your pay could potentially go up. For example, smartphones have changed the way we communicate. You no longer need to be at your desk in order to talk to your colleagues. Instead, you can just send documents on the go and reply speedily. It saves time, meaning you can do more. Also, new opportunities arise. New technology creates jobs. For example, in the 1900s, more specifically the early 1900s, jobs such as IT specialists or professional e-gamers or even software developers would have been seen as unimaginable in that time period. However, new jobs create more opportunities for people to try something new or develop their skills. Finally, yes, a chance of replacement. Growth in artificial intelligence means that more jobs will be done by machines, and some of these jobs are more likely to be automated than others. Throughout history, jobs have been destroyed because of these new inventions. A classical example is a knocker-up. What is that? It used to be a profession in the UK in which their job was to wake up the workers. But this job has become extinct since the invention of the alarm clock. So what's a more recent and more relative example for you guys? Well, I assume everyone's been to their local supermarket, for instance, a Sainsbury's or a Tesco. Well, have you seen the new self-checkouts that have been introduced recently? Well, yes, the self-checkouts have actually replaced the workers. Instead of the workers scanning your items, you are doing it yourself with the assistance of a machine. So, the next question you may ask is which jobs are most likely to be automated? Well, the graph below shows this in a simplistic yet effective manner. Now, just for you to be able to understand, on the horizontal axis shows the chance of the job being replaced by a machine, whereas on the vertical axis it shows the type of job as well as which type of skill the job falls under. For instance, lower skilled, middle skilled, or higher skilled. Now, the key things to take away from this is that higher skilled jobs are less likely to be replaced by a machine, whereas lower skilled and some middle skilled jobs are more likely to be replaced by a machine. Why is that, you may ask? Well, this is due to some middle skilled and lower skilled jobs having well-known procedures that can be codified and in essence replicated by machines who will now be able to do the task in a more efficient way. While for higher skilled jobs, it is more difficult for a machine to replicate this work in an efficient manner. Nevertheless, I must stress that although this is a very useful graph which gives you a generic idea, it does not cover all jobs. For instance, a cleaner, which tends to have basic skills and which would be found in the lower skilled category, is not seen to have a high chance of their job being replaced by a machine because it would be difficult for a machine to replicate the cleaner's job efficiently. This is just one of the many examples. Let's take that walk down memory lane. What do we know from the past? Even though there has been many technological inventions and many jobs becoming extinct, the unemployment rate today is similar to the rates in the 18th century. What does that all mean? Well, typically over the last 200 years, the number of people without a job was around 5 out of 100. As mentioned previously, there has been several technological inventions. Here are four I have highlighted due to the massive impact they have had on the world globally, so much to the extent that they have become part of our daily lives, directly or indirectly. So to begin, the steam engine. This was towards the late 1700s. The light bulb, towards the late 1800s. The personal computer, found in the early 1980s, and lastly, the World Wide Web, which was just before the 1990s. Nevertheless, these inventions did not leave people permanently without jobs. Of course, there was fluctuations, but never permanent effects. This could imply that in the past, people had adapted to the situation. Now, let's take that leap into the future. Does the future look promising? Well, as shown by the graph, skills that will be required less in 2030. So on the horizontal axis, you see types of skills, and on the vertical axis, you see hours worked in billions. Now, the key thing to take away from this graph is that physical and manual skills, as well as basic thinking, both will see a significant decline towards the future. Therefore, there will be less of these skills required in 2030. On the other hand, skills that will be required more in 2030. Again, we have the same horizontal and vertical axis labels. However, this time we see that technological skills and social and emotional skills will be required more in the future. So, what does this tell us? We can already see examples of machines replacing physical aspects of people's jobs, such as machines assembling a car or a factory production line. Rapid improvements in computing power and advances in artificial intelligence mean smarter machines are already replacing a broader range of human activities. For example, these include telephone salespeople and taxi drivers. But certain jobs which have a greater need for people and social skills, such as empathy, are unlikely to be replaced. So, if you're a nurse, or a teacher, or a social worker, it's unlikely a machine could replace these skills needed for your work. As we've seen in the past, technology might change the nature of the jobs, but it doesn't necessarily remove the need for them completely. Think about a role of a secretary. 50 years ago, this job was completely different than it is today, but the job still exists. However, if change happens this way, the need to develop your skills remains essential. So, is there a silver lining? Well, from this talk, we have learned the ways in which you may be impacted, also the types of jobs which may be at risk of being replaced, as well as looking at past outcomes and future predictions. These are guidelines to not only help you understand that automation does not replace all jobs, but also makes you aware that you should adapt. I will leave you with this. Perhaps the rise in automation could be a hidden blessing, as the future shows strong signs that machines and humans will work together. So repetitive tasks are being done efficiently by machines rather than humans. So it gives humans more time to focus on new ideas and concepts, as well as increasing their freedom. This can lead to the rise in new industries being created, and therefore new jobs too. This could all be possible, but we must be aware and be adaptive. What does this mean? It means being able to adjust when things change.